Hello, good morning, and welcome all, young, old, male, female, non-binary, just everyone, to the first episode of my podcast titled The Woman Genre, an investigation into the popularity of true crime amongst women in Ireland. I am your host, Rachel K. McLaughlin. My student number is 183-11861, and I hope you enjoy listening. Some of you might be wondering what true crime is. Simply, true crime refers to accounts of actual homicides presented in a narrative and stylized format compared to traditional news. There are many forms of the genre, such as television, movies, books, magazines, and podcasts, and stories are mainly about serial killers, missing people, murders, violent crimes, cults, cops, gangsters, and heists. This is a genre that has firmly established itself in popular culture, and in Rachel Frank's 2016 article titled True Crime, the Regular Reinvention of Genre, she states that true crime has captivated and maintained the public's attention as entertainment and information, successfully navigating changes in format and focus to maintain its place in our societies. And this is evidenced by the consumption of true crime. And in a similar way, according to Jean Murley's book titled The Rise of True Crime, 20th Century Murder and American Popular Culture, which was published in 2008, she states that, quote, "True crime is a way of making sense of the senseless, but it also has become a worldview, an outlook, and a perspective focused on contemporary American life, one that is suspicious and cynical and narrowly focused on the worst kinds of crimes and preoccupied with safety, order, and justice," end quote. It is a modern craze that has been popular for many years, especially for women. So for this episode of this podcast, I will be interviewing 5 wonderful women: Elise, Claire, Rebecca, Mary, and Paula, and I will be asking them various questions about the true crime genre. I will focus on 4 main areas, with a couple of bonus questions too. Firstly, I will ask why they have an interest in true crime and what are their motivations for watching the genre. We will then move swiftly along into understanding why our participants think women are the primary consumers of the true crime genre. Then I will see if any of them take part in online fan communities to discuss various ideas and cases, and then finally I will end with the question of whether they think it is socially acceptable for a woman to be a fan of true crime nowadays compared to years ago. So I hope you enjoy listening. Hello, good morning, and welcome all.
Hi, Rachel.
Hey, Rachel.
Good morning.
So firstly, could you all tell me how you first became interested in the true crime genre?
Okay, I'll go first with that then. I've kind of always been interested in true crime, maybe from kind of TV, normal TV. So like maybe a Prime Time Investigates or something that RT might have done. And then kind of through work, I started listening to Doc on One and podcasts. And then in lockdown, I listened to I think there was about 7 or 8 episodes of a podcast on RT Radio 1 called The Nobody Zone, and then went from there into Netflix, kind of looking at the unsolved mystery. So it was really lockdown for either an audio or a visual true crime kind of series. I like something that's maybe half an hour long or 40 minutes, and that's short, and you get the whole
series.
thing, rather than having to do maybe, so unsolved mysteries for me, it's my go-to. So if I have half an hour, I'll sit down and I'll watch that, because then I don't have to wait for the next one, or I don't have to click on. So that kind of suits me.
It's like each episode is devoted to its own story.
Yeah. And sometimes I think Netflix kind of string it out. I find sometimes it could be done in 2 episodes as opposed to 10. You know, certainly with Tiger King, I was getting really bored with it towards the end, because I thought this could have been done in 2 or 3 episodes and not strung out. But that's kind of media, and I think that's just really that's probably down to money and
Netflix.
Netflix, exactly.
And Rebecca, what's your view on it?
So yeah, I'd say I've had a long interest in true crime documentaries. So when I was younger, when I was studying for school, I'd always like to have background noise, and I just remember having oh, it's a very old show now, Forensic Files, just playing on in the background. So while I'd be there doing my homework, I'd have that making a bit of noise. Yeah, during lockdown, like you had nowhere to go, so you just end up stuck at home, find something good on Netflix, watch the odd documentary, and then I definitely had a good interest in true crime. Like I ended up doing my undergrad in criminology. Although I have to say, with the criminology degree, you barely touch on the true crime itself. It's mainly the psyche of what makes people into criminals.
So that probably, in a way, led you to why.
I definitely find myself when I watch documentaries and stuff like that, I see it from a different point of view. Like I'm seeing how their backgrounds have affected what drives them to the crime, basically.
No, that makes sense.
For me, it really kind of just happened overnight, I suppose, and it would have been because of the pandemic. Really, there were so many different crimes on Netflix, and then unusual crimes that would have happened maybe like 20, 30, 40 years ago. Oh, it's just like something that drew my attention. But the one that I found particularly interesting had to have been about the Cecil Hotel, Elisa Lam in particular. I think because I'm someone who travels a lot, and I think that Elisa Lam was in around my age, and I think it's just like there was a lot of similarities I found, and I think it just opened up my own eye to how you could potentially get yourself into a middle of a situation without realizing it. Yeah, so it really just opened my eyes as well through watching all of these different series on Netflix. But I think everybody got into something over the pandemic.
Yeah, I think that too. I think you had time on your hands, or you did your work, and then you wanted to kind of chill out, and there might have been an hour or two there where you would have normally gone out to the shops or gone for a walk or gone out, and then there was just, oh, what do I do? And you were picking stuff that was that you kind of got interested in.
And Mary?
I think I have always been kind of super interested in like people's stories and random like wacky stories that you'd see on magazines and stuff. So for instance, I remember when I was very young, my nana would have those kind of take a break magazines, and there would be little like true crime kind of segments within them, like, oh, my father turned out to be a serial killer from somewhere else or something, and then he never told us, and then some kind of bizarre story like that. And then I think I've just always kind of been interested, and then I suppose as I grew up, then you'd actually go and look for stuff that's a bit more kind of has a bit more quality to them and a bit more truth maybe. So I suppose then going on from that, just watching documentaries on Netflix or listening to like YouTube videos, which kind of are podcasts at the same time. Like I just listen to them while I'd be cleaning or doing a walk or something. I suppose what's kind of interesting as well is if you watch one thing on Netflix that's related to true crime, the algorithm is going to suggest 6 other things that is similar.
So true, so true.
Yeah,
I feel so sorry for my father's Netflix account now.
I know.
And finally, Paula?
I can always remember from a very early age being very interested in, well, I suppose serial killers and that sort of thing really interested me. But also young boys that got into a lot of trouble, say that around whenever I was younger, and there was always like a few boys that were always in trouble, and that really intrigued me, and I used to be fascinated by them and wanting to talk to them and find out why they were like that or why they went down that road. And a lot of the time, of course, they were the ones you weren't supposed to go anywhere near, always stay away from them boys. But of course, I found them very interesting and didn't stay away from them. That probably maybe led on later on in life to me becoming a foster parent, because of course a lot of them that do go on to commit crime and get into trouble have been through the foster care system. So basically that's, I suppose, how my interest would have started. And now I'm studying criminology course now, which I'm really delving deep into it. And it's great actually understanding why they do what they do.
So what are your views on the Jeffrey Dahmer docudrama series?
The Dahmer one was actually quite a good production. So yeah, I enjoyed that one.
Wow, really? I heard a lot of stories of fans not enjoying it because it was too bloody gruesome and just way too much detail.
Like, I didn't enjoy those parts, and there's definitely like aspects of it that were like hard to watch. I suppose because I was watching it with someone, like I'd never watch it by myself, we could like talk over the gory bits or kind of disengage from those aspects of it a little bit.
And Elise?
I think that with the Dahmer file, because it is a different kind of crime and it's incredibly gruesome, there's so many victims, families that are affected by this series that is coming out now. And it's just, I think, the reason why I suppose maybe Netflix decided to go into such immense detail is because there was a lot of other crimes similar to Dahmer's one, and it's crazy to think that Dahmer was this guy that was chatting up fellas at a club, seducing them, bringing them back to his apartment, and it's just, it does make you second guess the person that you're talking to.
I think you're correct there. I think Netflix have gone from doing something like Making a Murderer and The Ripper, where they're giving you facts and interviewing people, to going into the more gruesome. And is that just because of demand now that they think people have gotten bored of the normal, we'll say, true crime doc, and they're gone down the line of now let's see how much we can shock people.
And it's being made by Ryan Murphy, who does American Horror Story. So his whole genre is
murder,
violence,
gore, guts, all of the above.
So we're gone from just documentaries to docudramas.
Well, that's with his version anyway, because he's brought in all these actors to star in it.
I'm currently watching the Confessions with a Killer, the Jeffrey Dahmer tapes at the moment. I'm only I think I'm halfway through episode 2, and that's more the interviews with those involved, the attorneys, and obviously the actual tapes that they recorded of Jeffrey Dahmer, which it's more documentary style than the TV show.
Yeah, so I suppose it's a personal choice. I think the docudrama might appeal to the masses, but if you're a kind of fan of unsolved mysteries, you might go for the more evidential documentary rather than go for the drama, we'll say.
I find, with the drama series that there are a lot of interesting parts to it, but when it gets to the really disgusting parts and just the cruel parts, I find myself just fast forwarding through it. And a few other people that I've spoken to, because that series happens to be very popular at the moment, I'm not the only person fast forwarding through those really gruesome scenes. So there's a lot of other things that are of interest to watch in that series, but I think maybe the majority of people I've spoken to, they do fast forward to the difficult scenes.
I think it's kind of natural that you don't want to see it.
I know people that have stopped watching it because they couldn't handle the gore.
And maybe that's a downside to it. Yeah, well, maybe they did anticipate, and then you worry, will it influence other people to do copycat? People become obsessed with it.
Because it goes through such detail that it's almost like a how-to guide for any other potential serial killers out there. So I think that there's definitely a fault in that retrospect. Come to think of it now, that is problematic.
Whereas other documentaries tell you the story,
but don't go into detail how much it was done.
And are very might be more careful around, as you said, making it something that someone could become obsessed with and could carry out as a copycat. Whereas
Yeah.
more, I think some documentary makers are better at giving you the facts and being non-biased and very clear in their objective of their documentary. It's to tell a story, it's not to influence. Whereas this might be more of, let's influence and see what you think about this man.
Mm-hmm.
So, according to research, women are the primary consumers of true crime. Why do you think that is?
Well, obviously they're more intelligent. Maybe it's our mother instinct that we want to protect.
Mm-hmm.
I think that women are just more kind of empathetic, you know, are more curious about people and interested in other people aside from themselves, interested in hearing other people's stories and the details. I think women can be a little bit more like detail orientated when it comes to telling a story, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder, does that kind of influence it? And then I suppose, again, maybe it's that kind of preventative thing, like a lot of the crimes committed, you know, that kind of are that little bit more bizarre or interesting or tragic, I suppose, do happen to women more, I feel. As a result, there's more documentaries made about them, and then naturally women are curious about women care about women. That's kind of that like sisterhood element to it. And then again, maybe there's more documentaries made about women because it's easier to be empathetic to a woman than maybe like a man kind of thing.
No, 100%.
You know, and I wonder, do a lot of kind of male deaths are kind of, I suppose, a little bit more maybe violent and kind of now this is totally sweeping statement. I'm really not sure if this is the case, but like maybe men, their deaths kind of are a result of like fights or arguments or
yeah,
you know, violence between each other, whereas women are kind of, I would say it's more that kind of unprovoked attack kind of thing.
I think it's because they see themselves as being the savior of this misunderstood man.
yeah.
And that they can help him, and they're going to be the only one that can help him, and he's going to fall passionately in love with them and change his life around. And then, of course, there is that sort of the glory that would come along with such a thing.
For me, I think the reason why females would be the biggest consumer of true crime, well, what I think is maybe the fact that in society we seem to be a target. You know, that you would have had like a primary school teacher last year attacked, you know, at 4 p.m. in the middle of the day, just out jogging. So it is a pattern that unfortunately has been there throughout time, that we are a target, that we seem to be a bit easier to get to. I suppose physically, you know, like we would not be as strong as maybe like a predator. And also it's just I think it's just something that sticks in my mind. Like anywhere I go, like I was traveling recently in Hungary, and you know, especially at this time of year, like it's getting a bit darker outside, I find myself, you know, with my keys like in my hand. If someone comes up to me, like I'm there like ready, you know. And it is something that unfortunately we have to be aware of, you know, that somebody could try and take advantage of, you know, a woman, you know, walking down the street and it's a little bit dark out, even if it is only like 6:30 in the evening. Like I don't want to be the next victim, you know. So it's just, I need to take safety measures and precautions and this sort of thing. And sometimes, you know, my friends might think, oh, you're overthinking it, just like relax. And I'm like, unfortunately I can't relax. I'm a young female, I have to be on guard.
So again, it's your sense of justice that you want.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just have an interest in I suppose justice and seeing justice done. So if a wrong has been done, I'd like to see that it was corrected. Like, And then as a mother, the whole Madeleine McCann that's still developing, you wonder, how could they not find evidence in this day and age? How is there not a camera somewhere that hasn't? So for me, it's justice and seeing justice done, that it's not really a mystery in inverted commas, that it's solvable. You know, that somebody can be held responsible. That's what interests me. I think men are, I watch true crime with my husband, so both of us are interested in it. But that might be just a common thing that we have.
A date night.
Yeah.
And Rebecca.
Yes. No, I'd say like my fascination would be more towards like understanding why, like what drove them to it, like what drove them to commit the crime, and then like understanding like were there specific things that happened. So like was it that they lived in had a rough childhood and that led them towards a life of crime, led them to murder, etc. Like with Jeffrey Dahmer again, like there was his parents separating when he was young. There was a lot of arguments in the household. Like if a measure had been put in, could it all have been prevented?
So, are you guys part of any online communities where you share ideas with other fans?
No.
No, I think that's just like my personality though. I've never been a big club kind of person. You know. I'd never be one to like leave a comment on any video or leave like discuss my ideas publicly. Really.
Well, I think that because I usually like would be watching Netflix on my phone, I think just everything's connected on my phone. So I'd go onto Instagram and a lot of things that I just watched on Netflix would pop up, you know. It's like
They listen
So
to one another.
yeah. But I would find, you know, that there would be some groups on Instagram that, you know, that they would maybe discuss particular series further and just crimes and, you know, alternative ideas of what happened, you know, especially with the Cecil Hotel with Elisa Lam, you know, because there is still a big question mark there of what really happened. And it's just that you do find, you know, that people get very interested in the comment section, you know, what really happened, what could have happened, you know, what could have been prevented. So I definitely find just that there is a culture there on Instagram, especially with true crime. I'm not on any other social media, so maybe the rest of you could inform me of, I suppose, the culture around true crime on the others.
No, I'd say just well, I wouldn't be partaking in it, but I do find myself going through what other people are saying on the likes of Reddit.
Ooh,
which yeah, that's all conspiracy theories there though.
Do you think that being a fan of true crime media is more socially acceptable now than it has been in the past?
Well, I think in general it is more acceptable, or, you know, years ago, like, I mean, I'm 58, so years ago, like, I mean, when I was young, you were thought of as a bit of a fucking weirdo if you were like, you know,
Wow.
oh yeah, you know, there's something wrong with her or whatever. Mind you, I had a good few friends that were like the same as myself, that were very interested. But it is more socially acceptable now to be interested in true crime and to talk about it openly and to talk about it with. I don't know anybody that would be, you know, in any way shocked at a conversation about a serial killer or the Kinahans or any of that sort of
Yeah.
crack that's going on, in Dublin. So, and all over the country and all worldwide. So I think it is more socially acceptable. But then, of course, there are a lot more avenues now to explore these things. We have the internet, we have about 50 million television programs
True.
on serial killers and the
Yeah.
likes.
And there's
So
Netflix as well.
it's easier. It's
Yeah.
easier to find information now about things like that.
No, definitely.
Definitely more acceptable since it's basically mass media. Everybody's watching it. It's in the top 10 recommendations on Netflix and whatnot. So for now, it's more generalized, which obviously means like it's more acceptable for women to watch it as well.
I think years ago, there would have been a culture of, I suppose, not instigating certain kinds of conversations. Like this would have been, I suppose, expected of women, especially. This was a long time ago, but that there were certain maybe topics that women were not maybe
shouldn't talk about.
Yeah, that they shouldn't particularly talk about, and that like I think just now, because there's this ever-growing society of equality, we are encouraged to speak freely, to be opinionated, especially. I think just years ago women were not invited to be as opinionated as we are today. So I think that with particular crimes and that we are free to discuss and to query, like what happened here, what are your thoughts here, to ask these bigger questions. And I think just years ago it may have ran through people's mind, but they did not dare to maybe bring it up as a conversation. It was just kind of like, that's not an area for a woman to bring up, like this sort of thing. So I think just society has changed that a lot for us.
Yeah.
Bonus question, what are your favourite aspects of docu-series or documentaries? Specifically the documentaries or docu-series you love the most?
So the one that I've watched recently is the one with the cult.
Keep Sweet, Pray and Obey.
Sweet, Pray and Obey. That's it.
Yes, I've watched that as well.
Yeah, I like the way how they have the people that actually experience. I like how they've involved them in the interview process and talking about their experiences and how they escaped from the cult and told what life was like in there, and just
Yeah, that one was particularly good because they had interviews with people that were actually involved.
Victims of the crime.
Victims, yes. Initially, when I was watching it, I thought, that these victims, because they have escaped, that they are, telling, that this whole story of, escapement, that their maybe kids as well were with them escaping. But it was towards the end I realized then, because there was one woman talking about how some of her kids are still there.
It's still ongoing.
Yes, that it's still ongoing, even though they ringleader, what's his name, he was imprisoned. Yes, that he was imprisoned, that they so-called religion was still continuing. People were still brainwashed, thinking that this is, how life should be. And especially that some people who have escaped, they left behind so much family as well. And I think it's just something that I think really moved me, because it was one of the first documentaries that I would have watched where they had so many victims talking. And you immediately think that, oh, they're telling maybe like somewhat of a success story, that they got out, that they're living their life now, but they have left so much of their life behind, with their kids or their siblings still there. And it's just something I could never imagine. I find myself
to see the impact of everything that's happened to them.
So, do you find that documentaries or docuseries directed by women that are showcasing the victims are giving justice to the families compared to the ones directed by males or serial killers being the forefront? I've noticed from research so far with this thesis that many documentaries or series directed by women, they showcase more the victim's point of view rather than the documentaries or series directed by men. They're showcasing more of the serial killer's point of view or the male forefront instead of more of what the victims are thinking, which I just found super interesting and definitely something worth to note here in this podcast.
Yeah, actually, thinking of, say, it was the one we discussed there about was it Keep Sweet, Pray Love, that one there. There's sorry, yes. They do interview in a process that they just allow the victims to discuss just what they want. So if they don't want to go any further, they don't have to. And just again, I suppose the decision as well to not have, do you know, like some docuseries they might do, like where there's certain aspects that they're talking about in the past, and then they might have actors replay it. So I've seen this done. The fact that that wasn't done in this particular series, I think it was very respectful towards the victims not to go that route, that when they're discussing about previous things that they're not having actors replaying that. So I do think that there is a nature of respect there that a woman director can understand a bit more than a male director, especially since when we do look at the trends, I suppose we do see a lot more female victims than male. When we look at, I suppose, some of Ryan Murphy's productions, I wonder if a woman created that, would they have been as gruesome as they were, or would have it been produced in such a way that it was respectful towards the victims who were killed in such a gruesome manner, and also their families? I think maybe if it was a female that produced the Dahmer series, I think that these particular scenes would have been conducted in a different way. Just that there's kind of a different sensibility that a female has to a man that is obvious in these different productions.
No, that's a brilliant point you made.
And finally, are there any points you guys would like to add to this project? I would love to hear more about what you have to say.
There has been kind of a weird like trend of people romanticizing them, and I think that I was particularly disgusted to see that Dahmer's glasses were put up on bid. I think it was for a ridiculous price on eBay, something like, was it like $40,000 or something, and people wanted the glasses, and there was even a celebrity talking about his cool glasses. I was like, really, that's what your attention is drawn to, his choice of glasses, but I do think just some people forget the point of certain crimes, and especially with like Ryan Murphy's production of these series, people are kind of drawn to maybe like the fashion trends more than the actual crime itself. I was very shocked to see about the fuss made over the glasses in particular. And then a lot of people wanted to dress up as him for Halloween. Like eBay had to ban it, had to ban the sale of Dahmer's costume. Oh, I just think some people are just crazy to want to dress up as him, to want to copy his like glasses. I don't know. I think some people are mad.
Yeah, so the media, like doing these whole shows, they are allowing women to romanticize these serial killers.
A bit too much.
A bit too much.
Well, I want to thank our lovely 5 guests for joining me today in this podcast episode. Thank you to Elise, Rebecca, Paula, Mary, and Claire. Have a lovely day. So, as well as the podcast guests, I would love to thank a good friend of mine, Samar Abu Jaude, who wrote the music that was played in the background of this podcast. The song is titled Echoes of Silence. In conclusion, evidence shows that women have been the primary consumers of true crime for some time. As heard from the podcast guests, this is due to women living in fear, and they watch the genre as a means of a survival kit in case they are ever put into a situation like previous women have been. They feel they would know what to do. Some also watch it because they want to see justice made for victims and their families, as well as women just having an overall interest in why mass murderers, serial killers, or cult leaders do what they do. They want to get into the heads of these people and understand the whole why factor. Even though years ago, watching true crime was not socially acceptable, you were often seen as a weirdo and whatnot, thankfully today women can go about their day and let others know that they are secretly watching this genre. The true crime genre would not be a hit today without its female fans, so thank you all for watching true crime documentaries and docuseries. Finally, to conclude this podcast, I would like to end with a big thank you for listening, and have a wonderful day. Go out and enjoy the sunshine.